Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today we are taking a look at the Cleric. Now this is a hybrid healer used for dungeons. This is not one I would recommend using for trials, except for maybe normal trials. You could use it for veteran trials if your group allowed it, but I would highly advise not. Mainly because a lot of people will say that it's not very good at what it does. But it's actually a really, really good build. So let's just jump right into it. As you guys can see, it's a Breton Templar. The stats are 27k Magicka, 18k health, 27k stamina. We do have a 1396 magic recovery. Don't stress the magic recovery. You get lots of resource return with this build in a lot of different ways. As you can see, our spell damage and weapon damage is both 2,204 with a 32% spell critical and a 23% weapon critical. We do have 21k spell resistance and 12k physical resistance on the sword and shield bar. On the back bar, we do have a resto staff, and as you can see, our resistances do drop to 18,000 and 9,000. Now, somebody asked me, are you using heavy armor? No, this is a light armor build. So we are using the Atronach Mundustone for increased Magicka recovery. We are using dual stat food, the Magicka stamina food. And this food's pretty, you can come by this pretty easy. It's grapes and ashiam falafel. And as you can see, it gives you Magicka stamina at 4,936 for 1 hour. So it's a 1 hour food. You have to keep it up pretty often, so you will go through this semi-fast. So, but it's a good food. We are using the warrior drink because this is a based on weapon damage mostly build. So you do want to use this one to give you max stamina, or stamina back. It gives you stamina recovery. It gives you major brutality, major savagery, that kind of stuff. It's actually really good for this setup. The first of the sets we're wearing is Sentinels of... yeah, this one. The Sentinel set is what I'm going to call it. But as you can see, the one piece gives you healing done. The two piece, when you heal a friendly target, you have a 10% chance to summon a Dwemer Spider that heals you for X amount of health and restores so much stamina to you and your allies within 5 meters every second for 8 seconds. This thing can go off every 15 seconds. And let me tell you, this thing is constantly going off. So this thing just constantly is popping out and healing and giving the stamina back, that kind of stuff. It's actually a really good set. But you do have to heal a friendly target or yourself in order for it to work. The next set we're wearing, of course, is Pelinals. This is by far, hands down, the best hybrid set in the game because of how it works. It does give you max health, it does give you stamina recovery and magic recovery, but as you can see, your spell and weapon damage both become the highest of 2 values. So whatever is the highest thing you have, whether it be weapon damage or spell damage, it's going to equal out on either side. So we are using weapon damage for this build. So we get, the more weapon damage we have, the greater spell and weapon damage we have. So it'll give us both spell and weapon damage equal. It also gives you max health, stamina recovery, and magic recovery. We are using tri-stats in every piece. We do have 4 divines, and the big pieces are infused with tri-stats. Like I said, all tri-stat gear. Really, really powerful. Going on to the jewelry, the other set we are running is Powerful Assault. Powerful Assault gives you max health, stamina, and weapon damage. And then on top of that, when you cast an assault ability, you increase the weapon and spell damage of up to 4 friendly targets within 10 meters by 164 for 15 seconds. So if you're in a 4-man group, that's why I said this is best for dungeons, because 4 people, an extra 164 weapon and spell damage really plays well and really helps out. So moving on to the sword, and we are using all weapon damage on the jewelry, and it is all robust. So you want to have this all, just leave it all stamina, it's fine. If you wanted to, though, you could go one robust, and you can change the traits on these now. So if you have the traits learned, you can go robust, magic, or arcane, and healthy if you wanted to, but you really don't need it. On to the weapons, we are running a mace and shield combo. On the mace, we are using infused with weakening enchant. This will reduce the weapon damage and spell damage of the enemies by 452. This is just crazy with this setup because you are using minor maim also. So you get the minor maim on top of this. On top of that, you get this weapon damage. You can reduce the enemy's weapon damage by a ton with this. So next up, we are using a Divine Shield also to give us extra on that bar. So when we are using that bar, that Atronach Mundustone does give us a little bit more magic recovery, because when we swap bars, as you can see, and it is just a tiny bit more, guys. So yeah, the staff we're running is a restoration staff with infused, and it works out really well. And we do have an absorb magic enchant on it. This does magic damage, and with it being infused, the magic damage and magic restore is every 3 seconds. So if you're channeling a heavy attack every 3 seconds, that, like, it takes 1 second to channel a heavy attack, but if you do like a heavy attack and then a couple light attacks, you can proc it twice, which is really good. Really good for resource return. Moving on to the skills. Make sure you get all your class passives. For this one, you really want this balanced warrior. You want that 6% increase in weapon damage. You also want to make sure that you get your the rest of your class passives. All of them are really helpful, especially on this bar. You want to make sure you get Illuminate. This one, when you cast Purifying Light, it will grant your group, your Magicka people, 5% increased spell damage. And if they have a power pot, that means they're going to get a total of 25% increase in spell damage. Doesn't apply to you really, so, but that's okay. On to the next one. Of course, get all your passives here. Moving on to the weapons, though, Sword and Shield, it has an interesting thing because it does have an increased weapon damage by 5%. With the 6% is 11%, and then you add the power pot on top of it, and that's a lot more weapon damage and spell damage, or a lot more weapon damage, and then that applies to your spell damage as well, so you get a lot out of using the mace and shield with this particular setup. Also, make sure you get all your Resto Staff passives. Moving on to the armor. Light armor, you want to make sure you get all the passives. Medium armor, the top 2 and the bottom 1, and then heavy armor, just the top 3. You can be a vampire with this build, but really not necessary. Fighters Guild, you know, just the usual passives here with the Banish the Wicked, Mages Guild. You're not really needing anything, so just Persuasive Will is pretty much all I get. And then Undaunted, you want those passives. On to racials. Make sure you get all your racials on this, because you do want that 10% max magicka, you do want that spell resistance, and you definitely want that magicka cost reduction of 3%. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand about being a Templar, light armor, Breton. 1, you get 3% reduced cost in magicka abilities. 2, light armor with 5 pieces, you get 10% reduced cost. So that's a 13%. And then the fact that you are a Templar, you do get Restoring Spirit, which reduces magicka, stamina, and ultimate cost by 4%. So that in total, you end up with a 17% reduced cost in magicka abilities. So your magic abilities, as you can see, are not too expensive. So you can cast a lot of abilities, and usually you can see the thing here, like this costs you less than 1,000. So, alright, going on to the crafting, make sure you get your alchemy, medicinal use, and then provisioning, you definitely want gourmand and connoisseur for the food that you're running. Alright, going over the abilities on the bar, we are running Deep Slash. This does decent damage stamina wise, but it's also going to inflict minor maim, which is going to reduce the enemy's damage by 15% for 12 seconds. When you apply this with the other one, you get a lot more out of it. So, really, really good. The next ability we have on our bar is Blazing Spear. This is more of a damage dealing healer, so this you're going to use, and this does give back magicka or stamina, whichever's higher between the two, to your allies, so it gives decent amount of magicka, decent amount of stamina back, but it doesn't give the other one back. You can use the other morph of this, but I like this one better because this one deals more damage over time than the other one. Plus, on top of that, you can also proc with this ability the Burning Light, and as you can see, you're going to get an extra 3,620 magic damage on top of, with a 25% chance on top of this, and it can activate from when this hits or even the damage over time, so which is kind of good. And I have noticed it ticks on the damage over time, so I don't know if it's like a guarantee thing or if it's just like a fluke in the way the damage is going down or whatever. The next ability we are using is Resolving Vigor. This is what's going to proc our Powerful Assault set. And as you can see, like, our health and stuff on the recovery isn't super high, but when we do this, and then we do this, now it's going to do a lot more. But you want to make sure that you keep this applied every 12 seconds. So just make sure you have this going off every 12 seconds to keep that Powerful Assault working. The next one we do have on our bar is Purifying Light. This does damage, and then it stacks damage. Total of 16,291 magic damage. And then it heals every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. So it's a... once the damage hits, it'll do the healing, and so it's a really good, effective damage skill with healing as well for your group. Next up, we have Ritual of Retribution. This does damage over time. It also heals over time, so really good, and it's a synergy that can cleanse your allies. The next ability we have on our bar is Reviving Barrier. Now, we have this here for 2 reasons. One, it's a great support ability. So if your allies are taking a lot of damage in a dungeon, you pop this off, boom, gives your allies a damage shield. So it's really powerful in that sense. It also heals them, so it's a good combination in both. On the back bar, we do have Combat Prayer. This applies Minor Berserk, Minor Ward, Minor Resolve for 8 seconds. So that's kind of nice. It also heals for a big amount. And then the next one we have is Healing Springs. This is a great heal for you and your allies. This also restores magicka to you for healing 3 other targets. So when you heal your 3 other targets, you're getting roughly 7 or almost 1,000 magicka back. And so you have to look at this ability as when you cast it, you're going to cast it, and if it hits 3 targets, you're knocking 1,000 off. So basically this is going to cost you 1914 technically. Actually a little bit more than that, but. And then the next ability we have is Breath of Life. Great heal. This is supposed to be a conal heal, so it's only supposed to heal allies in front of you, but it can heal, it'll also heal 1 other target for 2,863. That other target can be anywhere, so it's crazy. The next ability we have is how you're going to apply Minor Main, or not Minor Main, Minor Magicka Steal. But I'm going to tell you guys now, this ability, I don't know if the devs have looked into it, but they might want to look into it. What it does is it applies Minor Magicka Steal for 18 seconds, causing you and your allies to restore 300 magicka every 1 second when you damage an enemy. So I'm going to get 300 magicka back a lot. You know, I'm just going to constantly be getting magicka back with this ability. It also gives me Minor Fortitude, Minor Endurance, and Minor Intellect. So it gives me health, magicka, stamina recovery by 10%. But it's crazy how this works, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. The next ability we have on our bar is Channeled Focus. This is our major resistance buff. So this gives us increased physical and spell resistance. And then on top of that, we recover 120 magicka every 0.5 seconds for the duration. So for 18 seconds, we're getting 120 Well, we're getting 240 per second. So we're getting 240 magicka per second back. And then you have this 300. So you're getting like 500 a second, 540 a second back. Along with the heavy attack from the rest of the staff, that's 400 and something every 3 seconds. It comes down to like 112 on top of this. So you're getting like 600 and something back. And yeah, it's just crazy. So you don't have a lot of magicka issues. Last but not least, we do have Aggressive Warhorn here. This will give us max magicka, max stamina, and max health by 10% for 30 seconds. It also grants Major Force, increasing critical damage done by 15% for 9.5 seconds. And I do want to show you this. So when I activate Warhorn, you'll see I go to almost 30k magicka, 30k stamina. But when I swap bars, I go to even closer to 30k. So it's really nice. And then I go to 19k health. So I get really, or almost 20k on the sword and shield. So I get a really good amount of stuff from that. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about this build and how it works. So when you activate, now I'm going to stand right here and I want you guys to watch this. So watch him and watch him. So I'm going to target him. You'll see that 17 seconds. 17 seconds. All 3 of them got hit with that. But here's the problem with that ability. With this ability. When you activate it, and it does apply that magic is still to the enemies, it also draws their attention. So it grabs aggro on them. So it's almost like a minor taunt. So be careful using this. Just letting you know. But yeah, this one does have a really good, and also when you have that down, by the way, you get the minor mending, so you get 8% healing done. So your heals will hit for a lot, as you guys can see there. That's a 8k heal, almost 9k, and base is 5, and then this one, oops, this one is 3,000, and that's its crit. And then your Breath of Light, 9,000, 9,000. Well, this is without potions. So when I buff myself with potions and this, and I drop to the back bar, keep all this up, now, and that's the minimum. That's without crit healing, guys. 6,000 and something. When it crit heals, it goes up. 10,000. And then this one, and then you can get this up to like 20k, your Breath of Life, on a single target. On the front bar though, your Vigor can actually do really good if you're keeping it up every so many seconds. This one will heal for quite a bit. As you can see, it's like the damage, I'll just get a little bit of damage out of it, but you can see the heal. So, and it's a big, nice area of radius on that heal from Purifying Light. So it's a really unique healing build in the way that works. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the CP. Starting with the red tree, we do have 56 in Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 20%. Over here we have 56 into Thick Skin. This reduces damage taken from damage over time effects by 20%. 56 in a Hardy, reducing physical poison disease damage by 12%. And then Elemental Defender 56, which reduces damage taken from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. I think I said 12%, or 20% here, yeah. So when you have that circle down, you get minor mending and all that kind of stuff. You don't get any more protection. So having this greater protection here and here really helps. You could even put this up to 66 if you wanted to, but this works better. We do have 23 into Quick Recovery, giving us an extra 6% healing received. And then 3 into Bastion, just because I really didn't have any other place to put the 3 points. Moving on to the green tree, we had 23 into Warlord and 23 into Bashing Focus. With this, you get a reduced cost and Break Free. With this one, you get a reduced cost in Bashing. And then when you go over here, we do have 76 in Arcanus, increasing our magic recovery by 14%. And then 76 into Tenacity, increasing our magic stamina and of our fully charged heavy attack. So that means both the Mace and Shield and the Resto Staff. So over here, we have 28 into Shadow Ward, reducing our block cost by 12%, 23 into Tumbling, reducing our dodge roll cost by 10%, and then 1 into Pafal. Moving on to the blue tree, we have 76 in the Blessed, increasing our healing done by 14%, 56 in Elfborn, increasing critical damage and critical healing done with magic abilities by 20%. We do have 43 into Elemental Expert, increasing our Flame Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 10%. And then over here we have 23 into Master at Arms, increasing our damage done with direct damage attacks by 10%. Going on, we have 52 into Precise Strikes. This gives us a 19% increase in our critical damage and healing from stamina, but it's mainly there for the Vigor. So it's there to give us that Vigor heal. And that's another reason why we use a Stam Potion, is because this Stam Potion raises our weapon critical. So as you can see, we have both 32% crit, or 33 and 32% crits on the spell and weapon damage. And when we're totally buffed up, by the way, we do go to 28-16 spell and weapon damage with this. So this thing is kind of like a mix. Like I said, it's more of a hybrid. So your spell and weapon damage, all that kind of stuff. And the reason why we have so much weapon damage is to make Vigor work better. That's why we have high, like both stamina and magic are really high, is to make that Vigor hit harder, to make our heals hit harder. Because all this spell and weapon damage, that's what it's there for, is to make our heals hit for more. So, and it's nice with things like Blazing Spear and the Ritual Retribution. These do a decent amount of damage, so I'll just show you guys real quick. So if I do this and I do this, and I have my potion up, and I have the, you know, all this stuff going, I can pretty much heal and then do damage on top of it. It's not a lot of damage, but it's enough to get you by in open world. It's enough to get you by in dungeons, you know, to help out. And you're not doing absurd damage, but your healing is crazy with this build. So that is the Cleric, guys. And the Clerics are really, like I said, it's just a really unique build, really fun to play. It's something that I like, this kind of play style, because in every game I've ever played where I've played a healer, I've always used, in like World of Warcraft, I never used a staff. I always used Mace and Shield on my priest. And then the same thing goes with my other characters that I played in that game, like my Shaman, and in EverQuest I played a Cleric over there, and a Cleric in EverQuest I used a Mace and Shield. In Vanguard I played a Cleric and then used Mace and Shield. So this really plays into that essence, or that idea of more of a traditional healer from like pen and paper days of D&D, where they would run, you know, you'd run a healer, you didn't run around with a staff, you ran around with a Mace and Shield. So it really plays on that, and it plays really well. Like I said, it's really fun to play. And the other nice thing is if you wanted to, you can almost dump the Resto Staff off the back bar and go with just a sword and shield on the back bar as well. So it works out either way. But that's pretty much it for the Cleric, guys. I hope you guys like it. I do love this build. I think it's a really good one. And I had a lot of inspiration due to making this, because my counterpart in life is a really big fan of Clerics in EverQuest and stuff like that. And, you know, that kind of play style is what she, or they, really like, I should say. So they really like that, and I really enjoyed doing this for them mainly. But I also wanted to share it with you guys. So if you guys like this build, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me and want to see other things that I'm going to be releasing here soon, hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.